Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me?
With your host, Brandon Tierney. In 3, 2, 1.
What's going on, everybody? BT Unleashed back with you here on this Tuesday. Hopefully everybody had a great Easter weekend. We got a big show. We've really got at least 4 or 5 things. College Hoops Championship game, the economics of college basketball. Jay Billis was dropping bombs over the weekend. He and Calipari were getting after it in a good way, but I want to get to that as well. Dexter Lawrence trade request, the Soto injury, a little something on Jazz Chisholm as well. Hopefully everybody is ready to jump into it, as am I. Let's go. Today's show, as you know, brought to you by Sullivan Pepane, one of New York's best personal injury law firms, according to U.S. News and World Report. Find Sullivan online at triallaw1.com. That's triallaw1.com. And our newest sponsor, last week they jumped into the BT Unleashed family. That's right, the best sausage in the world, Premio sausage. Great meals start with great ingredients. Premio delivers flavor you can rely on. Premio sausage, the way sausage should be. Find them at premiofoods.com or your local grocery store. So, J-Rod, what's going on here, brother? How you feeling today? You good?
What's up? How's it going? Player? Feeling great. Excited for another week of Unleash,
Yes.
Ready to bring them some content. And
speaking of content, hold on. Speaking of content, I didn't mention this in the rundown there. So obviously a lot of college hoops and some of the baseball items. You know, Peter Schrager from ESPN was with Good Morning Football, NFL Network for a long time. He, like basically everybody else in the industry, puts out a mock draft, and most of Mel puts one out, I think, every week. He puts out 2. And I saw something last night when I got back from the airport. There's something now that actually is beginning to suggest the Jets might go in a different direction, which is something that I've kind of hinted at a little bit. We'll get to that as well. But let's at least start with the first pitch here, J-Rod. Let's start.
I'm curious.
Wow.
So first off,
yes,
1 to 10. Just give me that off the bat. 1 to 10.
1 to 10, my scale, or 1 to 10 on the scale of first pitches in general. Because you got Baba Booey, you got 50 Cent. Yeah, I mean, you've got some wild ones.
All right, let's start with general. Let's go in general.
Solid.
Okay.
In general, I'd say it's probably about an 8 in general. Now, that's also including some people who short hop it and simply can't throw a baseball. My score, however, for me, I'm a tough grader on myself. I was not happy with my first pitch. I got to come clean. I got to come correct. We'll get you the video. We'll get you the video at some point this week. I know that the Rangers social media team is putting it together. First of all, it really was an amazing experience. So massive shout out to the Texas Rangers organization who treated me and my family incredible. They gave us a suite. So we watched and there was a bunch of us there. We probably were about 20 deep in the suite. So the suite was phenomenal. The food was great. The stadium's absolutely magnificent. Good game as well. Tight game. I think it was 3-2. They lost by a run to the Reds. It was a good baseball game. Good way to spend Easter Sunday. But see, here's what happened with what had happened was, all right, a few things at play here. Number one, so you saw the video that I posted on Friday night before my son's game. I was throwing the ball around. Okay, you saw that, right?
Saw that one.
And the arm felt great. The arm's always in shape. Like, it's the legs at this point that really are lagging woefully beyond. Of course, all the comments, chicken legs, you got pencils. That's true. I do. How do you hold yourself up? I don't know. It's actually a modern miracle with my chest and I'm not exactly the most proportionate person out there, kind of bigger shoulders and these little teeny tiny pencil legs, which I own, which I definitely have. So I felt great because I throw the baseball 3 or 4 times a week. I always throw BP for my team, and I play catch a lot with my son and now my daughter as well. I was not worried about the arm feeling good. I felt pretty confident going into this.
Yeah, it looked great in the vid.
I felt good. But listen, full disclosure, what happened was I'm gonna throw this on them a little bit. They made me wear anything to take the spotlight off my
Yeah, there you go.
Right. I waited an inordinate amount of time before I threw the first pitch. Now, the way this goes, right? So they take me and my wife and my 2 children. Everybody else had to stay in the suite, right? And we go down, and there's this little alcove, this little whatever, right next to the visiting dugout. And I was next to they have cheerleaders, right? So the cheerleaders came out, did their thing before the game. the national anthem. She was great as well. And I was talking to her, and country music singer, beautiful voice, and she crushed it. But she's like, you nervous? I'm like, a little bit. I'm ready. I'm going to have some fun.
Yeah.
I'm like, why, you nervous? Like, I always find it interesting to ask people who do certain things with great frequency whether or not they get nervous. And listen, I've even talked about this, like before I do motivational speaking or even before a show. Like there's that it's not nerve.
Yeah.
It's an energy that you feel pulsating through your body. And Stephen A talked about this as well. It's the expectation to deliver what people are expecting you to deliver. So it's not like a fear of public speaking. Obviously, it's what I do for a living. It's compartmentalizing all the things that you want to say and getting off to a good start. And in terms of a first pitch, not embarrassing yourself. Let's face it. If I go out there and I'm speaking to a room of 150 executives at Verizon, which I did last month, big room. I mean, highly successful people. I'm titans of industry, monster company. Even if I got off to a sluggish start, which thankfully I didn't then, but, if I say it the first minute or so, it's not really popping, I'm not really flowing, I can, that I have an hour and a half about to very quickly change that and then finish on a very high note, okay? When you're throwing out a first pitch, you get one shot. You bounce it or you sail it or whatever you do. Now, here's where I started to get nervous. Like, admittedly, actually nervous. They give me the baseball, and because we had to get down there, like there's a big logistical thing. Like you wouldn't think it. You think you walk on the field first pitch. No, it's a whole process because again, the national anthem, she was going before me. So everything was laid out. It's all choreographed. It's all literally to the second. So I've got some woman, just very sweet, on the headsets. All right, here's what's going to happen. This is like 20 minutes before I go. Here's what's going to happen. A, B, C, D, E. The way I operate, I even do this with my wife. I half listen. I know when it's time to listen, and I know when it's time not to listen. Yeah. And full disclosure, when she was running down the logistics of what was going to happen, I was not listening. I even told her at the end, I even said, hey, do me a favor. With about 2 minutes before I go, just give me the bullet points again. And I promise I handle instruction well. But with 20 minutes to go, my mind's all over the place. Just come back. I got you, right? So she gives me the baseball, and this is the first time I got nervous. I feel the ball. I'm like, holy cow, this thing is really slick.
Oh, okay.
Where, Jay, if you take a baseball and you snap your thumbs, if you try to like snap a baseball, it shouldn't slip. It shouldn't glide out.
Yeah.
But when you see a pitcher get a new ball from the umpire, what do? They take off their glove and they go like this because it is. I guess I forgot how slick it is. I mean, even with the kids, obviously playing with new balls to start games, but it's not that slick. It was like glass, only not a jagged edge, and like butter on my hands. It was so slippery.
Yeah, damn.
So in my mind, I'm like, oh God, oh boy. I'm like, all right, you're throwing a four-seamer, so you got the threads, a little bit of resistance here. Just have fun. But again, I'm there 20 minutes. 17 minutes, 14 minutes, 11 minutes, and I'm looking around the stadium, and now I start to wonder what could go wrong. Now I'm processing everything. Am I going to trip when I go out there? Now I'm like, all right. So, but I pretty much had that under control. And then here's and trust me, I'm not calling them out. They were phenomenal, as hospitable as you could be. I mean, red carpet for me and my entire family, but. As I'm going out, and I made it a point, do not step on the white line. So I kind of jumped over that a little bit, right? Like I even did that when I played. As they announce me, they go, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for, and they run down the resume, I don't know. I think they said, I really wasn't even listening because I was nervous. Emmy Award winning New York broadcaster, now in national presence with BT Unleashed on YouTube. Later, a big howdy for Brandon Turney. And as I'm walking, said my name wrong. So now I'm all messed up. I'll never forget, as I'm walking out and I jump over the line is when I hear my name. I'm like, oh man, they got my name wrong. So instantaneously, hand to Bible. I'm not even thinking about the first pitch now. I'm thinking about, I don't know if I can use the video because they said my name wrong and I'm going to look like a clown, but I'm going to have fun with it. It's all good. I'm not even worried about that. So I'm already not focused on the task at hand. I'm thinking about anything but throwing a strike. Now, I asked the woman, because I have, over the years, I have mocked people who don't throw from the rubber. I have. Like, if you're going to go out there and throw a first pitch, throw it from 60 feet, 6 inches. So the only question that I asked at the beginning was, can I go to the top of the rubber? Yep. She's like, no, you can't stand on the rubber. What you can do, you can stand on the downslope, all right? Because they don't want to get, obviously guys have to pitch. It's the major leagues. Not that I was wearing spikes, but I get it. I respect it. Sure. They already did the manicuring, so it was ready for the first pitch, for the real first pitch, the game. So she said what you could do, you could go from the downslope, but we've seen people slip and fall. I'm like, oh, shit, there's no way I'm doing that. I don't have cleats on. I've got brand new, Nike Jordans, and they're literally brand new, so they're slippery.
Yeah.
I got no I'm like, I'm not going from the slope. So, all right, I will take my friends clowning me, going to basically the edge of the circle where the dirt meets the grass. So instead of 60 feet, 6 inches, it's probably more like 54, 55, something like that. So I'm saying, oh, that'll be easier. All right. When I stood there, and I've thrown out a first pitch before. When I stood there and I walked and I looked around and I made sure I gave the crowd a nice wave and I was trying to take in the moment. And she even said, she's like, listen, a lot of people rush this. Just get out there. Take the moment in. But I was so worried about the ball slipping out of my hand that I could not really enjoy the moment. I tried. I really tried. So anyway, I'm like, all right, it's go time, Jared. It's go time.
Let's do it.
I get my four-seamer, and I rear back, and I freaking fired it, man. Now, there was no mile per hour. As soon as it left my hand, I'm like, I don't know if he's going to catch the ball. Now, Travis Janikowski, thank God it wasn't like an old coach. He's now the first base coach for the Rangers, right?
Got it.
And he played for the Mets for a year back in 2022. One of these like scrappy, fourth outfielders who can run, not a great player, but a good athlete. Thank God he just retired, because if I had an old coach back there, no bull.
Yeah.
I threw it so hard that thing would have hit the screening on a fly. Oh. He jumped out of his crouch and he snagged it in the right-handed part of the batter's box.
Good on him.
It was like 4 feet high. It was like not close to a strike. 2 feet inside. It was really not a good throw. Sure. And me, I because this is just how I'm wired, I allowed that to bother me for the next hour. Like all I did was think about how I can throw a baseball without even thinking. And then I get on a mound in front of about 30,000 people on Easter Sunday, talking smack on YouTube, talking smack on Twitter and Instagram. Oh, I'm going to fire it. And what do? It sails. And as soon as I threw the ball, I actually felt it. I had the grip. But one of the things, like when you throw a baseball, and you teach the young kids this as well, you almost want to hold it like an egg. It's almost like a golf club. When you grip a golf club too tight, the tendons and everything in your arms get to, and you lose that elasticity and you lose like speed, like swing speed or arm speed. So I'm like, don't grip it too tight. But then I'm like, but you have to, because it's real slippery. So anyway, I was kind of in between on the grip, and I didn't throw a good one, and I was very disappointed, and I can't get it back. That's the problem. I can't get it back. And I remember as I'm walking out there, my son goes, come on, Dad, let's go whiz it, throw a strike, like something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't disappoint him. I can't disappoint my daughter. I don't know that I disappointed them, but I disappointed myself. It was definitely not a strike. Now, the reason I give it an 8 is because the windup and the aesthetics of the throw were on point, because I did play and it had some juice. But if Travis Janikowski does not jump out of his crouch, no, it's not going to short hop the backstop. It's going to hit it on a line. It's going to hit. So that's the long and short of it. A short story made long by BT. What else is new? But the Rangers were great. It was a complete honor. It really was a little more nerve-wracking than I thought. Like when I threw out the pitch at the A's, you got to understand, I was in a very different place, because we hadn't had children yet, and this was in 2011. So I was done with college baseball for a long time, but I wasn't coaching, so I wasn't really throwing a ball. Yeah. Like I can't remember, maybe throwing a football in a parking lot, like tailgating at Stanford or something. So my arm, I didn't have this expectation. But because my arm is about the only part of my body that still feels very lively and I know has some juice, I set the expectation. Like in my mind, I was going to throw a 70-mile-per-hour dot, and whomever was back there wasn't going to have to move. It was going to pound the zone, and it was going to be perfect. And it wasn't, but it was a good time, and it and that's what happened, man.
There we go. That's all that matters.
Yeah, well, I guess that's all that matters, but I was expecting more.
I guess from an outsider perspective.
Yeah. We'll get you the video. We will definitely. They got me a nice Rangers jersey with my name on it. They really went above and beyond. So it was an incredible experience. Again, thank you to the Rangers family. Really, really cool. Really, really above and beyond. So I want to hear about your little set that you played over the weekend as well. We'll get to that at some point today.
Sir.
I want to hear about it. I want to hear how my guy J-Rod was banging the bass. See if there's any groupies out there for J-Rod as well. We got to get the groupie.
Yeah, report. Maybe some like 70-year-old ones were out there.
Hey, listen, they're people too.
Hey, true. You know what?
Oh, J-Rod.
Got to try everything once.
All right. So I want to hear about that. I promise I'm going to give you a chance to tee that up. Now, college basketball. Season's over. Portal is open. It's amazing that's the first Big Ten championship since 2000, which was Michigan State, right? The height of the Izzo run. Tom Izzo's still the man, but that's when they were just popping pros left and right, and they were at a higher level than they are now. And it's still a very good program now, but that Michigan State, that iteration, late 90s, early 2000s, my God, they were so good. So Big Ten, congrats to the Big Ten, congrats to Michigan. I thoroughly enjoyed the game. Now, aesthetically, it wasn't very pretty, but for UConn to have a chance in this game, they had to muck it up and they had to make it like a Big East game, and they were very successful doing that. You guys got to understand, when you look at the dominance. Now, I did not think that Michigan was going to beat Arizona, nor did I think that UConn was going to beat Illinois. So I gave you the predictions on Friday. I thought it was going to be Arizona and Illinois in the championship. See, I can own my mistakes. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And I, 0 for 2 in terms of picking the championship game. But the thing, and I didn't overlook this with Michigan. I just thought that Arizona was slightly better. But Michigan absolutely, last night aside, rolled through this tournament. You look at some of the points that they put up. They scored 101 against Howard. They scored 95 against St. Louis. They scored 90 against the very good Alabama team, 95 against a really good Tennessee team, 91 against Arizona over the weekend, and then 69 against UConn. It shows a great adaptability. It shows great coaching. It shows great grit. Obviously, they play defense. They really made life tough for UConn shooters, whether it's Caravan or Braylon Mullins, who was 3 for 17. But this is amazing. They were plus 114 in the tournament, which is the 7th highest in the history of the tournament. They scored 541 total points, second most ever. And the team that had more than them was the 1990 UNLV Running Rebels. Grandmama, Larry Johnson, Stacey Augmon, Anderson Hunt, Greg Anthony, a team that eventually lost to Duke after they obliterated Duke, and poor Poppy Hurley ran to the bathroom to I think he had diarrhea. I think that's what happened. He had a real stomach issue. I think I would as well, by the way. If I'm a young, skinny, 155-pound Bobby Hurley on the layup line, and I look over and I see those monsters getting ready to full court press me, I may have thrown up on the court. But listen, it really was, it depends. It depends aesthetically what you're looking for. I don't need, 13 to 16 3-pointers made or 85 to 90 points. I can find the beauty in a grinded out kind of a game. And it was a grinded out kind of a game. I remember one point, maybe midway through the first half, so about 10 minutes or so, right around there, Raph is like, they got 16. Michigan has 16 points. And then he ran through, some of the numbers I just ran through, just to get everybody up to speed, not assuming that everybody knows exactly what Michigan's done this year in terms of being a high-octane team. So the Big Ten gets their championship. Michigan gets their first since 1989. It really is amazing. Now, Michigan's been very good the last couple of years here. And the Big Ten's one of those conferences where throughout the year, now I'm talking about this century, really since their last championship. That's why I referenced that back in 2000 with the Spartans. But all those ensuing years, think about all the good Wisconsin teams, and Purdue's been good. Iowa's had some really good teams. Michigan State's obviously very good. Illinois going back to the, 04, 05 in that window with Billy Self and some of those terrific players. So the college season is over. Congrats to Michigan. Now the portal is going to be absolutely insane, which leads us to one more thing about the tournament, which kind of leads me into my next topic here. And I know it's a talking point, and I wanted to make sure I talked about the game a little bit first. If you want to pop in about the game, some of the stuff within the game, I'm all for it, right? But the way I do this and the way most people do this at this point, it's more about topics and kind of pushing things forward. Like, this is not 1990 where you get on the air, 13 minutes. This guy picked up his third foul. Although Demery and some others for UConn had some foul issues. Even Michigan was plagued by that, which you don't love to see. And I thought some of the fouls were a little ticky-tack. You want the best players to be out there. That's a little gripe that I would have and that I did have from the game. But you think about like March Madness, right? Just the entity of March Madness. And one of the great things is that, first of all, it's a Thursday, it's a Friday, and starting with Selection Sunday, and of course the first four, if you're into that, they're good for you. I'm really not, but I'm not here to disparage it. You start to see the Cinderellas develop, right? This year's, the Cinderella was probably Texas, and Texas, I believe, had about a $16 or $17 million NIL, base. So is that really a Cinderella? Which just tells you how much things have changed. Listen, I'm looking at it this way. You're going to hear the word sustainability quite a bit, and we all know it's not sustainable, and I don't want to be a Debbie Downer because we did have a champion crown last night. Now, I'm much more intimately aware of some of St. John's economic factors, but they're not that. The only difference between St. John's and some of these other schools is that they've got football revenue, which obviously they can, spread around. If you're a Michigan or, what are those, LSU, you got 100,000, Penn State, 110,000 people watching the game. So the ability to make money and then, kind of disperse throughout the rest of the athletic department is obviously there on a much higher level. Just look at the fact that a team like Alabama or some of the other schools I mentioned, they will pay early in the season some mid-major Division I team, maybe from the MAC or another conference like that, to come to their stadium to lose by 40. And sometimes those bye games actually do go awry, but the team that comes in, that's the inferior team, they're getting about $2.5, sometimes $3 million. That's what a bye game is. And the teams, that's really important. I don't know why this team's popping in my. Take a team like Toledo, like a team like that, right? Say they go and play Bama. Here's a check for 2.5. They could take the $2.5 or $3 million and then disperse it somewhat throughout the rest of the athletic for the budget there. Swimming and diving, golf, softball, some other stuff, right? Non-revenue producing sports. So I think that we've got a massive issue here. Jay Billis was phenomenal on Saturday, going back and forth with Calipari. And Jay Billis has a legal background, not to mention he is a whiz when it comes to basketball. The guy's brilliant, right? And I thought he made a lot of sense. Nobody really wants to hear it. But look at St. John's for a second, right? So St. John's operating costs is around $40 million for their entire athletic department, right? Now, well, what does that include? All the coaches' salaries, all the charters, and I don't mean NCAA issued, like when you go to the tournament, the NCAA pays for it, but like St. John's flies out to Creighton or St. John's flies out to Butler or, one of those schools, DePaul in Chicago. St. John's is cutting that check, right? So $40 million operating budget, Patino's making, 6, 7, now he's got the new contract, but closer to 10. All of his staff, the entire support staff, all the other sports, all the charters, all the hotels, all the other things that you got to pay. Now, the total revenue for St. John's is around, now these aren't perfect numbers, but they're in the neighborhood of $40 million. So let me get this straight. If a school like St. John's has an operating budget of just to exist of $40 million and they generate $40 million, how sustainable is that? Because it's still a business. Yes, it looks good for the university. And you can make the case that while it looks good for the university, certainly there is some downstream uptick. Like for I would imagine, actually I know this, that St. John's enrollment has gone up the last couple of years. It's viewed differently by prospective students in high school because there's now a buzz around the program. So that's another ability to make money for the school, for the university, but that's separate from the athletic department. So I don't know where we're going with this. I don't pretend to have the answer. Again, I don't want to just take a dump on the entire college system, but it is broken. It is beyond broken. And anything that we do now is just a Band-Aid. It's going to come to roost. I don't know how much more money you can spend on NIL. Take St. John's again. Mike Rapoli. I got to meet Mike in San Diego. No, did I meet him in San Diego or in DC? I met him in San Diego, right? I've seen him a couple of times. Never really had a conversation with Mike, just a quick dap as I'm going to the broadcast booth with that, whatever. I saw him at breakfast in the team hotel in San Diego, and Eddie Cole, the AD, was there, and a few other boosters, and they were at the table next. Anyway, we started talking, right? Great guy. Incredible energy. Ridiculous what he's doing for the school. That's amazing. So if Mike Rapoli, and every school's got a Mike Rapoli, the difference, schools like, say, the University of Texas, they've got maybe 10 to 20 Mike Rapolis because it's all oil money, football budget, etc. Like Seton Hall and some of these other Big East schools without football budgets. Well, yeah, somebody steps forward, somebody cuts a check, but at what point is the return not worth the investment? And I'm not saying that that's the case for St. John's at all, because their profile and the amount of students now who apply to go to St. John's, the profile, all the other things that you can benefit residually from having a powerhouse of a program with back-to-back Big East tournament and regular season championships, that is quantifiable. You can obviously, literally detail how much money you make off of that, but I'm not sure what the end game is. I don't know how much more this could go on. And I'm not even talking about, I'm talking about everybody, man. I mean, the money is absolutely insane. And this is not about me saying they shouldn't get paid. I've always said that they should get paid, and I've always thought that it was too one-sided and disingenuous. That some of these people in the NCAA, who I don't really respect at all, because I don't think they know what they're doing, and they were dragging their feet forever, reticent to pay these players because they knew once the door opened, the tsunami was going to hit them, and they were being greedy. It's not like they were trying to protect the integrity of the NCAA. They wanted to count and keep as much money as possible. So some of these schools, a Michigan, an Arkansas, a Texas, a St. John's, a Duke, an Indiana, well north of $10 million in the NIL. And when you start to weigh in, and it's different, an operating budget at Texas or Michigan or Bama is very different than an operating budget at St. John's or Butler or DePaul or Seton Hall. Understood, it's all relative. But what's happening here is that you're beginning to see now like the fundamental essence of what a couple of weeks of March Madness used to represent symbolically, whether it was a Butler or a VCU or George Mason back in the day, or even teeny tiny Villanova back in '85. When the Big East sent 3 Big East schools to the Final Four. I don't know how we get there again, and if we are there to an extent, I don't know how we stay there. I just don't, because listen, the bottom line is this, guys. Schools in mid-majors, they are now a minor league feeding ground, a spawning ground for great talent. And it sucks. Like, you take a school like Marist, where I went, where we barely have any NIL money. It's a great academic school. They consistently yield, all academic teams, and it's a great university, and it's well run, and I've got great friends up there, and I'm very proud to have attended Marist, right? But Marist, let's say they get like back in the day, you could get, maybe a kid in New York City. I'll just throw a school's name out there, St. Ray's or All Hallows or one of those schools, who's not the best player on the team. Maybe that best player goes to the Big East, but the second or third best player on that team goes to a Marist or goes to a Siena or goes to a Fairfield or an Iona or one of those schools. And then he wins, MAC Rookie of the Year. And you're like, okay, hey, we've got our foundational piece. Let's build around him with a couple of shooters, get a big, blah, blah, blah. And then let's have a chance to not only make the NCAA tournament next year, but also maybe make a run, like win a game or two, like Iona did years ago. So those days are over, because once that MAC or NEC Rookie of the Year or a lesser conference shows this incredible talent, he's gone, because you got a big school say, here's $1 million check, come play for us. So there are no answers right now. One thing that I would like to see is more of a commitment to the school. I know for a fact that St. John's has done some multi-year NIL deals, which I think is a good thing. And listen, let's get separation. If you commit to go and play at Michigan State, let's say you get $2 million to go play for the Spartans, and then out of nowhere, and you've just signed, right? Well, you can't sign yet with the portal. You signed out of high school, or more specifically to the issue that I'm talking about, you're at a previous school, you go to Michigan State for big money, and then Tom Izzo out of nowhere in a month says, you know what, I'm done. Which wouldn't stun me at some point soon. I'm done with the direction of the NCAA. This is not the game that I love. I don't feel it anymore. It's not why I got into coaching, and I'm checking out like a lot of coaches have already done. Okay, like Jay Wright's a good example, who's a lot younger than Tom Izzo. Well, if you sign, I don't care if they give you $1 or a gazillion dollars. If you sign to go play for a coach, you absolutely need to be able to leave without penalty. That's not the problem. All right. The problem is, I think that there should be some sort of economic return, like a buyout almost, where if you sign for 2 years with a school at $1 million each, and then after 1 year, you don't like it and you leave, that's fine. You've got the latitude to do that based on the rules, but then you have to pay back, I'm just throwing numbers out, $500,000 to the school that you lose, or that you leave, I should say. Because then what's happening now, the school that you committed to, now at least they've got some more money to make a very quick pivot to adjust to you leaving. Whereas right now they don't really have that. So I don't pretend to have the answer. I love college basketball. It's a big part of my world, but it has changed to the point where it's barely recognizable. And everybody with a brain cell knows it's a big issue, and they've got to find a way to resolve this. The problem is you could take Jay Billis, you could take a Patino, a Calipari, a Tom Izzo, you could take a couple of former legends of NCAA, Grant Hill, Hurley, whomever else Lou Alcindor Kareem could come in if he wants, anybody, right? And they could sit down and they could craft this amazing new vision for the college game, where kids get paid, but it's healthier, all right? And there's more plates for the smaller teams to eat from. The problem is it's got to go to courts. And once it goes, and I don't pretend to understand all the stuff that when it gets to that level, but once it gets to that level, it's just never going to get pushed through in an effective manner that's going to save college basketball, and the same with college football. So I have been able myself to, because really, I mean, I'd be disingenuous. I mean, let's face it, the reason why St. John's is back, and watch what they do in the next couple of weeks. If you think the last couple of years were strong, I think they're going even more aggressively. Because all right, Sweet 16 is good. They want to get to a Final Four. They want to win a championship. And they've got a guy with the checkbook to help them get there, and they definitely have the right coach to help them get there. So St. John's not about to stop. So this has made my world much more enjoyable. Instead of going 17-15, sometimes that's a good thing based on some of the years I've had with St. John's, and beating a bunch of mid-major teams in the early season that do nothing for your net ranking or the other analytics that actually get you in a spot to have a good seeding or make the NCAA tournament on Selection Sunday with the committee. Like that world versus the world that I'm currently watching and calling games with Mink. I mean, I'll take this world any day of the week. I mean, I just did a Sweet 16 game. St. John should have beat Duke. They're up by 10 in the second half. I'm thinking Elite Eight. I couldn't even dream about the Elite Eight a couple of years ago before Rick got here. So my world has changed favorably, selfishly, but I'm also a macro guy. I'm a big picture guy. And the day that Patino retires, or the day that Mike Rapoli says, all right, I've done enough and I'm going to take a step back. Well, if nobody else steps up, and St. John's, let's not be blind here, St. John's will just kind of sit back to the middle of the pack here, because that's what's happened to a school like Seton Hall and some other proud Butler, some other Creighton, some other proud basketball traditions that don't have the finances to back it up. So we got a lot of problems here, and you can either choose to address it or, just throw your head in the sand and ignore it. I'm kind of doing both. I do enjoy it because it's relevant games. I mean, St. John's has turned, New York City back into a college basketball town. But I also understand greater good. It's not for the greater good. I'm gonna get James 555K. Move from an NIL system to an incentive only system. You'll get better competition and better players. Well, again, sounds good. All right, is that going to fly in the courts? So if you're talking about, well, hey, here's $350,000 to sign with school X or university Y. If you do this from an individual perspective, it triggers up to 750 or $1 million or 1.2 or 1.5. If we do this from a team perspective, it triggers up accordingly. Sounds good. Sounds good in a boardroom. Sounds good in a tweet. Sounds good in an on-air conversation. But is it practical? My answer is no, because of the court system. I don't know how that's going to fly legally. So that's where we're at with college basketball. But I did enjoy the game. And, it's crazy too. Like, and this is one of our burning questions, so I'm not going to do it yet. But, Danny Hurley is just, my goodness, he's a phenomenal coach. He is just tremendous. I don't care, the antics that overshadow his greatness for some. Not me. I had no problem with it. Bobby Knight was the same way. Bobby Knight is for the most, vilified by some, but revered by most, okay? So let's not be selective in how we remember people. There were a lot of tyrants back in the day. Actually, Boeheim he wasn't, as visibly a tyrant as, very few people are, like Danny Hurley, but all the Roley, Louis, these guys were on the refs, come on. It was just different. Not every single exchange was captured, and Danny is excessive, and Danny is over the top, but my goodness, man, you give him, I'll tell you what, if you gave him, this is how much I believe in him, and Pitino's in the same category. If you gave 300 and something Division I teams, if you gave every single Division I coach the same exact roster and the same summer period to improve and the same, month and a half ramp up before the start of the season when practice officially starts, you get back to school in September, late August, whatever it might be, and then you play a, 30-ish game, tournaments, and then the big dance, and they all have the same amount of talent. Nobody has an advantage. Does anybody think that Danny Hurley's not going to be among the final coaches standing? He just is. He is just what he does, and the way he pushes players, and Rick does this as well, to push a player that hard and that aggressively, almost to the point where if you have the wrong player, they're going to break. And what I mean break is they're going to shut down, then they're going to eventually transfer. But those who don't wilt, like a Zuby, goes from a young man who was playing 5 minutes a game at Kansas as a freshman to a player of the year in the conference and the DPOY as well. Now, the whole draft game is all whacked out. It's all about upside and stuff. So you'll see almost everybody drafted early is going to be 19 years old. That's just the way it is, and I'm fine with it. But Zuby Ejiofor has put himself in a position to eventually, like Champagny and St. John's, to make borderline or eventual generational wealth because he didn't wilt and he stuck through it, and he was able to take that pushing and that prodding and that cajoling. And Danny Hurley is a magician, man. But to be able to do that, that player's got to know, yeah, you might get eviscerated on national TV. You might get lit up in film study in front of your boys. You might get lit up in front of practice in front of everybody. But at the end of the day, forget about as a player, as a person. And that young man's family knows the same thing, that there is a deep connection and a deep love that is non-negotiable. And as crazy as Hurley is, and he is freaking nuts, his players know it because they stay, they develop, and they win. So he really, really, he's 6-7 minutes away from better basketball, from having 3 championships, 3 of them. Absolutely insane. Insane. The guy's, he was at Wagner for a couple of years. It's crazy. My God. He's so good. And he's so nuts. Yeah.
I've been going deep into like the Dan Hurley, I guess, like video archive.
The Dan Hurley experience?
Yeah, like I've just been watching so many of like, did they do a 30 for 30 on him and his brother? I don't know if I saw that.
I saw it.
But I've seen obviously a lot of the clips and just going deep. Like they're such an inspirational, group of guys, or couple of guys, just truly all about the game. Lunatics, as you're saying.
Yep.
And yeah, dude, what a great coach. Good game. Not a great game. Not a great game. Didn't go as like down to the true wire.
No,
as
I know.
you wanted to. It got to like that 4-point kind of thing at the end, and go, maybe, but it didn't really look good.
No, you know what? Back to Hurley for a sec. Then I'm going to get into the 3 burning questions. We'll get to Dexter Lawrence, Soto, Jazz, a little something on the NFL draft as well, and we'll get those texts coming in. Yeah, I see on the hook and hold. That's got to be gone. I'm with you. Get rid of it. It just stagnates things. I'm with you. I don't disagree. The thing about Hurley, right? And like to understand what drives him, and you're too young for this. I know you saw the 30 for 30, so you understand what he went through. But when your brother is Bobby Hurley, who was arguably the greatest college point guard of all time, all right, and certainly among the game's greatest winners, and his dad was ferocious at St. Anthony's just to keep the school open, how hard he was on his boys. That's where Danny gets it from, obviously, right? But Bobby is an intense coach who just fired at Arizona State. Bobby's intense as well because he grew up in an intense, demanding home. That's obvious, right? But Danny is intense because of the same reason, but also because of his very public failures, right? And, when he quit, when he took a leave of absence from Seton Hall, and really, in hindsight, his biggest mistake may have been staying in the state of New Jersey and going to play there. Like, if Danny Hurley would have gone to, I don't know, Virginia or Michigan State or an Illinois or USC or an Arizona State, it's a different level of scrutiny. And like he talks about it, and like the hurt that he feels, and on some level, the embarrassment. He shouldn't be embarrassed because he was a Division I college basketball player and a high school All-American at St. Anthony's. But the embarrassment that he feels, how he internalizes his college career, that is his driving motivation.
Yeah, wow.
It just is. And it's really one of the most powerful things that you can relate to, that you can have. Now, excuse me, it's not even close. I don't want to equate the two, but I can relate to that to an extent. I've talked about this, how to this day it kills me still. That's maybe why throwing out the first pitch, if you think about this, why I internalize it on such a deep level. Like, hey, you got to throw it hard. You got to throw a strike. In my mind, I just know that my college baseball career didn't go the way I thought it would and the way I wanted it to. And, as important as my coach who recruited me needed it to go, eventually was fired. And trust me, it's not fun to say that I was probably a part of the reason why, because when you're hitting in the middle of the order and you don't produce and your coach eventually gets fired and you get dropped in the order, how could you, unless your head's in space and you're like, oh, I was terrific. Like, no, I'm a realist, man. Like I am a pragmatist. I'm also very emotional, and I'm also a dreamer. So it's an interesting combination. But like, it's maybe one of the reasons why I take coaching. Now, I'm not a tyrant with the kids. I'm not even a tyrant with my own son. But I do take it seriously in certain things are non-negotiable. Running off the field, having a catch with purpose, just doing certain things that are ingrained in me. So I look at Danny. And it's a very complex evaluation because his greatness is undeniable. You just have to wonder if eventually it's going to destroy him. I hope not. I don't know the answer to that. It could. Pitino was never quite like that, but Rick has told me often he's used the word humble. Like he's like, listen, I've been humbled, man. And I think it's been a little bit of a softer, more congenial presentation from Rick. He's talked about, he's even said it publicly about how he's been humbled. So Danny's 20 years younger than Rick. And the one thing that you can't buy, the one thing you can't study for, the one thing that you really can't accelerate is life experience. You just can't. You can't. You got to go through certain peaks and valleys to eventually get to where you're going to get to as a person or as a professional, a coach, whatever your line of business might be. So maybe Danny does find that perfect middle of the road. I don't know. But we'll see. And with that, let's get to 3 burning questions. Got a lot to do here, of course. Yeah, man, let's go. 3 burning questions here, brought to you by Sullivan Payne, one of New York's best personal injury law firms, according to U.S. News and World Report. As general counsel to the New York City Firefighters Union for more than 4 decades and the proud law firm partner of St. John's Athletics, Sullivan Payne is New York's team fighting for New Yorkers for more than 100 years. Find Sullivan Payne online, triallaw1.com. That's triallaw1.com. Remember the name, Sullivan Payne. All right, question number 1. There you go. That's why I wanted to lead into it here. How long do you envision Danny Hurley coaching at UConn? Man, I don't know the answer. I'm going to give you some thoughts. All right, so You think about the coaches with 3 championships. Bobby Knights he has 3. Roy Williams has 3. Jim Calhoun's got 3 as well. Adolph Rupp has 4. Coach K's got 5. John Wooden's got 10. See, here's the thing. I don't think I don't think that Danny is one of these coaches. Now, some of these coaches are programmed to bounce around. All right. I think that for a long time, that was Rick Pitino, who loved the new challenge, and I'm not talking about starting at Hawaii and then going to BU and just working your way up to Providence, but, from Providence to the Knicks, from the Knicks to Kentucky, the Celtics and, all the other things, Louisville, St. John's reclamation. Rick, I think, is different, inherently different in that regard from Danny. Now, even Bobby Hurley was at Arizona State for a long time, and their dad never left St. Anthony's. And he had many opportunities to go and coach, whether it was college, definitely college, and he never left. So I don't think that Danny Hurley is going to have some nomadic collegiate resume. He was at Wagner for 2 years. First of all, he was coaching in high school, right? And then he went to Wagner for 2, and then he got a better job, more money, higher profile at URI when they were really down. 6 years there, built it up. Then he took a great job at UConn, and that is a great job. It's been there 8 years. He's got 2 championships, almost got number 3. I think that within 3 to 5 years, I think something is going to change for Danny. He's either going to go to the NBA and scratch that itch, all right? Remember, he was kind of close to the Lakers job where they were deep in negotiations, and I think his wife really weighed in and was like, is this something you really want? I don't know. I don't want to misrepresent what she said, but I don't know that she was loving that new road. And, listen, as a husband, as a dad, you got to incorporate that. But there was a deep flirtation with the NBA and the Lakers. Maybe that happens. I also think that there might be with him a little bit of a burnout period. And listen, if he doesn't fix stuff, maybe there's a situation where he has to leave and it's not of his own volition for a year or so and kind of rehabilitate his image. So that is a long answer to a very tough question. How long do I envision Danny coaching at UConn? I'm going to say within the next 3 to 5 years, and I would say on the shorter side more than the longer side, something changes. A little respite, a little TV, because he is very good on TV. Like, you get Danny away from a referee or, from a huddle or from barking at a player. Yeah, he's cool. He's funny. He's loose. He's honest. He's pretty good. I don't know. But my answer is at some point there's going to be a change and it's going to be fairly soon. But I don't see Danny jumping around. Oh, the Kentucky job is open. Let me do this because it's better than UConn. I think UConn is phenomenal. Why are you jumping around for what? An extra $2 or $3 million? How much more money do you need? He's the highest paid coach in the conference, as he should be. And he's got a legacy that if he wins one more and then maybe one more after that, it's going to exceed Jim Calhoun, who is the greatest winner in the history of the Big East. So that is number 1. All right, number 2, a little baseball here. Yeah, this sucks. Which Met's going to have to step up the most in Juan Soto's absence? Now, the calf injury, he's on the 10-day IL, as you know, but it's going to be more than 10 days. You're looking at 2 to 3 weeks. And if it is 2 weeks, I don't think there'll be a minor league ramp up. If it is 3 weeks or a little bit more, maybe there will be. I don't think Juan Soto needs a lot to get ready to hit. He's Juan Soto, so I'm not worried about that. Listen, to answer the question, you could easily say, Lindor, Bichette, those are easy answers, but they're supposed to hit. So I don't incorporate them. You could always say somebody like a Simeon who's showing signs, or a Vientos who didn't play much early who's popping, or Beatty. Sure, it works out a little bit. My answer, though, is actually Francisco Alvarez. So very quietly, Francisco Alvarez leads the team in home runs, leads the team in total bases, and his OPS is almost 1,100. Now, at the end of the year, he's not going to have an 1,100 OPS, nor will he be, I don't think, even close to leading the team in home runs or total bases. However, he is a guy that can change the complexion of this batting order. And we've always thought that. He just kind of fell from his perch as the number 1 prospect in baseball. I thought they called him up too early in 2022. They put him in an unwinnable spot in that series down in Atlanta. Talk about pressure. Geez. Then he got hurt a lot. Then he wasn't performing. Then he was overweight. He's worked on his defense. He's in better shape, and he's hitting. So to me, I think now without Soto, you're going to need him to, stay on a heater for at least, couple of weeks here. But then when Soto returns, I think if he can play well, and I'm kind of still a little bullish on it, not fully. I never fully wrote him off though. If this is a version that we've never seen of Alvarez this year, and listen, again, it's going to be diminished number. I mean, he's not going to do this for the whole year. He's not that kind of hitter, I don't think. But if he can have if he can have his best year, put it that way. Now, when Soto does return, now the lower third of the batting order is much more of an issue, harder to navigate, and it's going to make pitchers really, really regret having to face in sequence Lindor and then Soto and then Bichette eventually when all three are hitting, which eventually at some point they will. All right, so my answer is Alvarez. Number 3, it is Masters week. Did you know that, J-Rod? Yep. Little golf down at Augusta. I love the Masters. I watch it. I mean, I pretty much watch every shot. I'll be on a baseball field all weekend this weekend, which is the only place I really want to be. Or I should say, no place I'd rather be at this stage in my life, watching my kids, baseball and softball, as you know. But I will record Augusta. I will come back and I will watch it. I will watch every shot. I don't need a Tiger Woods. I don't need a Phil Mickelson. Now, this is the one tournament where you really don't need them. Some of you need them for everything. I don't, because I love golf and I love watching golf. Now, I'm going to give you a dark horse here. He's 10,000 to 1 to win the Masters. So I'm going real dark horse. That's Harris English, all right? If you follow the PGA Tour and you follow golf here, number 1, all right, he played pretty well at Augusta last year. He just finished outside the top 10. He was number 12. 2025, he was a runner-up at the PGA Championship and the Open Championship overseas. So he's got some chops in terms of showing up and not being overwhelmed by the big stage. And he's had a very interesting start to his 2026 season. Now, he hasn't made every cut. He's made most. I think he's made 7. But of the 7 cuts that he's made, he hasn't had a top 20 finish yet, but he has not finished out of the top 30. So he's consistently been in those 7 cuts there, those 7 tournaments between 20 and 30. So when you're between 20 and 30, something's just a little off. Maybe you're not driving the ball great. Maybe you get some unlucky bounces. Maybe you're not putting well. You're not rolling it well. You're not banging the irons the way you usually do. I think that he is a good putter. I know he's a good ball striker. His eye seems to fit the layout at Augusta. There you go. That is my 2026 dark horse candidate, Harris English. So if you want to put down $100, maybe this changes by the time they get off on Thursday. Right now, it's about 10,000 to 1. He's with a bunch of other people. So if you bet $100 and he wins it, you win 10,000. There it is. All right. 3 burning questions once a week here, brought to you by my good friends at Sullivan Papain. Find Sullivan online at triallaw1.com. That is triallaw1.com. Remember the name, Sullivan Papain. J-Rod, by the way, how was the set? And let me hear about the set.
It was great. Wait, first off, shout out Harris English. I spoke to him a few weeks ago on this other pod I did. Not like me. Not like me. No, I just said what's up to him, but very nice guy. So
wait, what do you mean another pod? You making other money here, buddy?
Yeah,
what you got going on?
Got some side hustles. No, I mean, I do a show with these 2 dudes. I don't know if you might know one of them. I do a show with these guys, Drew Butler and Jake Fromm. Jake Fromm,
former quarterback.
Yep. Yeah, from UGA.
Georgia.
He's the boy. And so they talk to like a bunch of former UGA athletes.
Okay.
Harris English is a former UGA.
He's a Bulldog,
athlete. So there you go.
Good dude. So easy to root for, right? Pretty good guy.
Yeah, big time.
Nice, man. Very nice.
Yeah, the set was awesome.
Tell me about it. Let's hear it.
Set was super fun. I mean, I said last week, I was like, I don't get nervous before shows. I get a little tense, but I don't get nervous. Oh, I was nervous.
You were
not sweating bricks, but
I got you.
I hadn't played a show in probably a year, something like that.
Okay.
Almost a year, maybe like 10 months. And so little nerves there, but super fun. Went great. Fans showed out. We probably had like 50 something people there. So super great show.
All right, man. All right. Now, when you're playing, I noticed the same with speaking. You start to show those little butterflies, just that anticipation.
Yeah.
As soon as you start strumming that bass, all gone, or
yeah. I
right
mean,
away.
For me, I guess playing bass, it's easy. Sometimes people can hear you, sometimes they can't, so it's not too bad. For my boy, maybe it's different, when he's got to sing and stuff like that. Maybe it takes a little more time to get the nerves off. But no, for me, literally the second the music stops, my mind's elsewhere.
And if I recall correctly there, Jay, so there were three acts. You were not the opener, you were not the close, you were in between.
Yeah, we were in between.
Okay.
And it was interesting. I mean, the show, like the fans were very divided show by show. It would be like the first band would go, okay, their people would come, and then they'd leave. Then we went up.
They left.
Yeah. Then we went up, our people came, then they left. Then the third band came. So I don't know. It wasn't as congealed of a show as maybe you would think.
Got it. Do you guys have access to a little green room beforehand?
Dude, this place was funny. It was like, it wasn't even a green room. It was like a green closet.
Oh,
it was literally just a hallway that led from the main room to the stage.
Yeah.
No chairs or anything.
Oh man, so no post-concert partying back there like the old days, huh?
Usually there's a little, pre-game, post-game, kind of fun in the green room, but no, not this year.
I remember we did that at the BT and Sound live show with Aaron Boone. We had that was at the Vogel Theater in Ridbank, sold it out. It was awesome. And we had our own green room, and a couple of sponsors came by, did a celebratory shot beforehand, and I can only imagine. Yeah, but I know it's different. I mean, you look at bands like Motley Crue. Good God, what were they doing behind?
That ain't what we're doing. That's not what we're doing. We might,
probably not
do a little something, but not Motley Crue.
Little something. You're not Nikki Sixx, God forbid. Who actually said on his answering machine that he was dead. You know that story, right?
No,
you don't know that story. Wait, did you see? Hold on. Did you not see the?
I haven't seen. Crue? No, I'm not a huge Motley Crue guy. The 80s have kind of missed me. I go 60s, 70s. All right, you kind of missed me there.
Miss you the 80s. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So let me take you. So the 60s, you're talking Woodstock, you're talking, Janis Joplin, you're talking The Who. I'm not a big Who fan, but
neither am I.
Okay. Jimi Hendrix, of course, groups like that.
Beatles,
I gotcha.
A lot of the British acts.
The Beatles, of course. Yes, the Beatles, 100%. And then you get into the 70s, you got Led Zepp popping now. You've got, also you
Black
have
Sabbath.
Oh, yes, with Ozzy. But you've also got like the Commodores, Earth, Wind, and Fire. Yeah. Like you've got this confluence of all these different types of genres in the 70s.
That's more the line. That's more the line that I start going down. Is like the Marvin Gaye, the R&B sort of line is like really my wheelhouse. But
Marvin Gaye is, God, so talented. Michael Jackson, of course. I got you.
Yeah.
All right. And now the 80s. I love the 80s, but I understand why it's not for everybody. Like, the headbanging, the Motley Crues and Def Leppard, who I love, I could talk 80s music all day. I love that stuff. And then the 90s, you get into the grunge. You get Nirvana, obviously. You start getting that grunge impact, right? So so that's what pulled you into the 90s, right, J-Rod?
Yeah, big time. Nirvana, Beastie Boys was my introduction. And then as time went on, Tribe Called Quest.
Okay.
NWA was kind of like where I really sunk my teeth in.
Okay. And then of course you get, West Coast rap, you get Dre, you get Snoop, and then Eminem comes in late 90s, you got Jay-Z. Okay. I got it. So the thing of it, you have to, even if you don't like Motley Crue that much, just because you love music, you got to check. I think it was on Apple. Was it on
The Dirt? What was it called? The Dirt, right? Or something that?
Yeah. It was about the, yes.
I got to see it.
Dirt. You got to see it. It's really, really good. And there was this one scene, and trust me, I'm not glorifying. This is brutal. But there was a scene where Nikki Sixx was so hooked on heroin that he recorded, I guess he did a batch. I guess that's the terminology for heroin. Did a batch of heroin, got a bad batch, and recorded on pre-cell phones, recorded on his home or his apartment answering machine, something along the lines of like, I think this is kind of verbatim, like, hey, you've reached Nikki Sixx. I can't get to the phone right now because I'm dead. He actually thought that he died.
Wow.
Yeah, dude, really, really rough stuff. But in terms of the music, like Motley Crue starting a song, I'll take Motley Crue starting the song pretty much over just about anybody. So good. I'm happy you did well. I'm happy you had fun. Your parents went to go and watch?
Yeah. No, My mom had some Passover business to tend to, so my dad pulled up. It was very fun.
Pops pulled up. I love it. That's
Yeah.
great, man. All right. I got to make a show at some point. It's going to be hard,
Dude,
but
come.
I got to
mean,
make one at some point.
anytime you can, listen, I'll keep you posted. Maybe we'll try to make it out to Jersey.
Oh, expand those horizons. There you go,
Yes,
man.
sir.
All right, let me get this one from Charlie F66. 75. Now, if you look at Alvarez's numbers after the Mets sent him down last July, he's done really well. True, he did come back and hit. I think that really helped him get back on track. Something teams are afraid to do. Something teams are afraid to do sometimes. Yeah, I mean the Yankees wouldn't do it with Volpe. Now that was a big thing on our show back in the day. Send Volpe down. I didn't think that they should send Volpe down. Who knows? Maybe in hindsight it would have triggered something and it would have helped elevate him. One thing I do know, I know that this is about Alvarez, but one thing I know, Caballero's doing nothing to prevent Volpe from coming back and just taking the shortstop job. So he has not been good at all at shortstop. So I think that. Yeah, there are certain players where it really works for. Roy Halladay back in the day with Toronto was sent to the minors, and they sent him to A-ball, which I believe is Dunedin. I believe that's their A-ball. Certainly was, and I think it still is out there in Florida, and it really worked for him. It's worked for others. Jason Dominguez right now is hitting the tar out of it, but still isn't playing a really solid outfield. I don't know what the Yankees do with him, but yeah, sometimes it could reset. And even some of the other Mets, think about this. Like, I feel like every time, I don't know if it's the ballpark, I don't know if it's the league that they play in, but I feel like every time a Met is sent down to Syracuse, AAA Syracuse, right? When I watch SNY, all I see is, there's a home run for Mauricio. He's back, by the way. There's a couple of home runs for Brett Beatty. Good night for Alvarez. Couple of home runs and a double. I don't know what's in the air out there. I don't think it's not an altitude thing. I don't know the dimensions of the ballpark, but I feel like every Met prospect, Vientos, whomever gets sent down, they come up, they go down, and they hit. They can be hitting 112 in the bigs. As soon as they go to AAA, they just rip. And it's not just like, it's not like every major leaguer goes down and hits right away in the minors, but it does seem to happen a lot with the Mets now and their prospects. If this is a foreshadow of things to come with him, fantastic. Yeah, I mean, that would be a real boost to their offense, certainly without Soto. And then when Soto comes back and Soto does what Soto does, and the other guys around them, Lindor and Bichette, start hitting with great consistency. Well, now you got 1, 2, 3 massive issue. And there's other questions too. Polanco, number one, with the Achilles tendonitis, and are they going to have enough power without Pete? These are stories that are going to follow the Mets team all year. But you get to that bottom third, it's unfair to expect a lot from Benj or Young playing the outfield now. But if Alvarez could be a staple, yeah, it's a big win for the Mets. All right, let's get to this over the weekend. Dexter Lawrence, right? Trade request. All right, now it's a big thing because he's a terrific player. Didn't have a good year, but is a terrific interior defensive lineman. Certainly one of the best in football. Numbers bear that out. So let me just cut to the chase here. Number one, do I think they'll trade him? No, I don't. Number one, no. Number two, would I? I might. I actually would probably say more yes than no. But it doesn't matter what I think. Now we get to the third part. It's what John Harbaugh thinks. If John Harbaugh basically goes to ownership and says, "Hey, listen," and then of course GM, but we know it's Harbaugh's show, and then Shane, what is Shane going to say? Whatever Harbaugh says, that's what Shane's going to do. We all know that by now. No matter what Joe Shane tells us, it's Harbaugh's show. So. To me, there's a couple of ways to look at this. Number one, I do believe he's underpaid based on when he signs. He's making $20 million a year. He's going to be looking for mid-30s. Okay. Not the best timing to actually go and put your flag in the ground when you had a shit season, which he did, but understood. There was also the injury from 2024 in November, and he was great in 2024, that I do think lingered into 2025. Sack numbers were down across the board. Not a good year. Didn't look engaged. Didn't look to be in great shape. And Carl Banks, my buddy Carl, who is generally much more positive than not, he basically said, I think the quote was, "Nobody respects you. Nobody's throwing doubles at you anymore," last year. For Carl Banks to say that, that you had a down season. Now, again, do I think they'll trade him? I don't at the end of the day because of the timing and because of what he means to the team. Would I do it? I might. I'll tell you why in a minute. But it's still not nothing. It's not nothing. Because, and I'm not worried about the off-season workouts, dude. They're voluntary, whatever. Yeah, you want camaraderie. Yeah, it sounds good. You want everybody in the weight room. Go on, buddy. It's not high school, dude. You get ready for your job. You get ready in the off-season. I would have to think Dexter Lawrence will be a pro, and he'll get his work in no matter where he is, even if he's not at the facility lifting. I'm not worried about that. But it is interesting. Like to me, this would feel more in sync with if like Brian Dable was still the coach and he's just kind of like, you know what, number one, I'm underpaid, and which he is, and number two, I'm tired of losing. Like I don't love, and I'm straddling the line, not because I'm afraid to, but because there's a lot of things at play here, and I want to be fair to Dex, right? Because both things could be true. You could have a shit season, but you could still be a stud, and he's still young enough. But the part about him that worries me, you would think that he would be galvanized with the arrival of John Harbaugh. You would think a guy who won a championship and a guy who every year wins 12, 13 games and has the Ravens as one of the best teams in football, you would think that you would want to kind of maybe be a little more quiet about that, whatever. All right. Although maybe this is the only leverage he has, and you got to do what you got to do. And I don't begrudge players for doing that. I'm not getting on them. The reason why I might be inclined to trade him, you got to look at the trajectory of the New York Giants. Jackson Dart is really young, and Jackson Dart is really good. All right. Malik Neighbors is a superstar. And I saw the amended report over the weekend, slight amendment there, where, rather than being ready for training camp, which, by the way, is something the Giants should never have put out there. I don't know why they did that. I'm not going to crush them for doing that, but I thought it was a little irresponsible, and I thought it was very unnecessary. Just say you hope, which is now what they're saying, little adjustment, as I said, you hope that Malik Neighbors, or the anticipation, whatever word you want to use, is the focus is on a week one return for Malik Neighbors. That's it. He doesn't have to be out there July 26th, running gassers, whatever it is, or in shells on August 1st. Like that's inconsequential to the Giants season. Now, the Giants, to me, and I think with their fifth pick this year, I think they're going to do one of two things. I think they're going to go offensive line, which I am absolutely okay with, or I think they're going to go somebody like Sonny Styles or Caleb Downs, which I'm absolutely okay with. They're not going receiver at 5. They're not. Could they trade out? They could, and then maybe that opens up a door for them to do something else with the acquired and the additional draft equity here. But just saying that they stick at 5, O-line, and there's two prospects worthy of top 10 picks, O-line, or one of the two gentlemen young players that I just mentioned in Styles or Downs. All right, now, I bring up Jackson Dart because Jackson Dart is he's at his own 13-yard line, if that, as he begins his quest to become a great NFL quarterback. And I really think that Jackson Dart has a chance to be a great NFL quarterback. Not just a good quarterback for the Giants, but I think if the Giants build this thing out properly and he can stay healthy, which is a caveat you always have to include, especially for a running quarterback who has had concussion injuries, right? Everything that I see about Jackson Dart screams franchise quarterback, and everything that I see about Jackson Dart gives me confidence to think he's the kind of player that rolls into Philly or Dallas or Chicago or Green Bay or Detroit or San Francisco or Seattle, any other good team in 2 years or so when he's more experienced, he's got better players around him, and wins a road playoff game. I'm not even saying just MetLife. I think he's that kind of player. I think guys will follow him. I think he's got the perfect combination of talent and charisma and belief. Like what he exudes, that's the guy that you want to run out of a tunnel for. Jackson Dart. That's the guy. Now, there's a lot of things that he can't control. Who's drafted, what the roster looks like around him. I get all that. So the things he can control, getting out of bounds and not absorbing the hit from the linebacker who's trying to break you into two, slide when you have to. I respect the aggression. I respect the want, but you're playing the long game here. Giants aren't winning anything this year. And this all ties back to Dexter Lawrence, at least for me, on some level. Maybe not a primary level, but if this was year 6 for Jackson Dart and the Giants had already played a couple of playoff games here and they were much further along where they currently are, and the defense was better, and the O-line, which has gotten a little bit better over the last, it couldn't be worse, my God, but it has at least gotten better, that would be different. At that point, I would say, all right, man, you got to bite. Number one, Lawrence deserves more money, even off a bad year. But I think that the consequences of not doing right by Dexter Lawrence and trading him for draft picks, who are not yet ready to contribute on that level, theoretically, that would be a disservice to the direction of the Giants. But because Dart's just starting, and because Neighbors, hopefully he plays week 1. I'm not sure if he does. And even if he does, is he going to really be Malik Neighbors week 1? I think that's unrealistic. I don't think that's a fair ask. I don't think it's a responsible ask, at least perceptually, to think that he's going to be, week 1 going for 9 for $131 for 2 touchdowns. Now, if he does, maybe that just reinforces the fact that he's an absolute freak. And he might be. He might be that kind of freaky healer because he is that kind of freaky athlete. And I love the Neighbors pick when they took him. I'm on the record with that. You can't, injuries happen, right? But if somebody is going to give me what the Raiders were going to get from Max Crosby, or what the Jets got for Q, or what Dallas got for Parsons, then why the hell am I not making that trade? See, there is a part of me, while I know Dexter Lawrence is, God, I almost want to use the word great. Like, if it wasn't for last year, I would use the word great. I would. He's a preeminent run stopper, and he gets to the quarterback, except last year. He's a bull. He commands a double team, which makes everybody else around you better, except last year. The Giants' defense, even with him, was 31 against the run? Horrendous. So there's a lot of things at play here. I'm going to keep an open mind. Now, I don't know what Harbaugh's thinking. Here's what I would be thinking. I'd call him. And he maybe has already reached out. And this is where your experience as a Super Bowl champion and a guy with cachet around the league, this is where it would carry more weight. No disrespect to Brian Dable, who I do like. Like if Dable made this call, or, some of these other, Pat Shurmur, McAdoo, right? You call him up, you talk to him. Hey, listen, I get it. It's business. Do what you got to do. You are a foundational piece. We want you. Stay in shape. I've already talked to ownership. We want to keep you. The numbers will take care of itself at some point, but we want you. But then I've got to ask him, and I've got to be satisfied with his response. Do you want to be a New York Football Giant? Do you want to be a part of something that's going to be hard early and then possibly amazing, which you've never experienced so far as a pro, late? And if I get a satisfactory answer, and you've got to be able to read people, and sometimes they can lie to your face and it seems authentic, and they can fool you. It happens in these draft interviews all the time. You talk to a young player, and you think he's all about football, and he projects this amazing, attitude and just all in and team guy. And then he gets in the building. He's lazy, sloppy, he's late, he's weak, inconsistent in the weight room. Doesn't know. I don't want to say he doesn't know the plays. I mean, you're going to know the plays, but doesn't know the playbook on that next level. You know what I mean? Like that anticipatory gene that generally separates the great ones from the good ones, or the good ones from the average ones, or the average ones from the subpar busts. So whatever John Harbaugh wants is what's going to happen, and that's what should happen. But I do think that it's a little more complex than just saying Dexter's a great player, pay him, or he was awful last year, this is the beginning of the end, trade him. Because if you trade him right now, you're going to trade him for 65 cents on the dollar. And here's the other thing, too. Now, maybe this is not his responsibility to do this, but his camp should have calculated this, all right? Like Dexter Lawrence has to worry about Dexter Lawrence. But Dexter Lawrence's people who handle this stuff, his camp, his agents, his reps, they should have factored this in. He didn't just wake up yesterday and say, I want out. They obviously know he's unhappy making $20 million a year. I think he's the 9th highest or 10th highest paid interior to D lineman. And these numbers are going through the roof. So he's behind the curve. He deserves more. And he's going to get it, whether it's here or somewhere else. But what they should have done, if they wanted to really maximize leverage and give every team a chance to jump in here and give the Giants something to think about from a trade perspective, this should have been done before free agency. Because then the Giants could have pivoted. Like right now, who are you going to sign? If Dexter's gone, you're not drafting an interior defensive lineman at 5. Number one, there's nobody that's you got Bailey, you got some of these edge rushers, you got Styles, you got Caleb Downs, you got a bunch of receivers, you got Mendoza, you got a running back, Jeremiah Love. There's not an abundance at all of interior line. Ruben Bain looks like he's moving back into the top 10, even though he's got short arms. Like, I don't know. I don't think it was played out well by his camp. I don't begrudge him for doing it. It's his right. You get X amount of years to maximize your earning power. Go do what you got to do. Secure every penny. Because one thing that we know about the NFL, when you can't play anymore or a team's finances are all out of whack because they're irresponsible and they're poorly run, they don't care about you and they don't care about your family. It doesn't matter what they project publicly. It's a bottom line, blunt business, and they will make you restructure or they will cut you, whatever happens. Go get yours, especially in the NFL. Go get it. But I thought his timing was off. But the bottom line is, whatever John Harbaugh wants, that's what John's going to get. Make no mistake about it. Let me see here. I think this was strictly business by Lawrence. I think there'll be no issue at all. Garrett did the same as an example, one of many in the league. True. I get that. I mean, a little different. I mean, if you're talking about Garrett Wilson, Garrett's younger. There's a lot more upside to Garrett Wilson. I mean, Garrett Wilson's been a terrific. I know he was hurt last year, but Garrett Wilson's had a terrific start to his career with some of the worst quarterback play this century. You know what I mean? With nobody opposite him. So, I mean, and the Jets basically down by multiple touchdowns every week. And you know that if you're going to throw the ball, you're going to throw to him because up until last year, they didn't have a viable tight end like they did in Mason Taylor, and he got hurt. So anyway, I don't know if it's apples to apples there, but I mean, I get the business of football. I don't know if it's quite the same because one thing nobody ever said about Garrett Wilson was, does he love football? Has he reached his apex as a player? They are. I don't know if they're saying that. I don't want to be unfair. I won't get nuts here. I don't know if people are saying or asking the question, does Dexter Lawrence love football? But based on his massive drop in production, based on the optics, a little bit out of shape, what Carl Banks said, others who know the game, what they've weighed in with, there's at least some noise around him that maybe, if there's ever a time to part with him, this would be the time. And I do think on some level that they won't say this, nor should they, but it's gotta connect somehow with Jackson Dart's trajectory. Again, if this is an aging Tom Brady, or I know Mahomes got hurt, but Mahomes coming back now, or even a Joe Burrow's been around a couple of years, guys like that. You do whatever you need to do, and you bite the financial bullet, and you take it on the chin down the road, and you go through that 3, 4, 5 win season, which is misery and treacherous for any organization. But you do it because you've got a little finite window to win with the quarterback that you have. Jackson Dart he just stepped into the baby part of the pool. Now, eventually, I think he's doing flips off the diving board, and he's one of the studs in the deep end of the pool, but not yet. So it's a different calculus for the Giants. At least that's how I see it. Let me get D-Rod 1, 2, 3. Why can't Lawrence honor his contract? It's not the team's fault that he signed it. That's on the agent. Yeah, I mean, listen, D-Rod, I hear you. I hear you, but it's the way of the NFL. I mean, I could also ask you, and I've asked this out loud, many times, why can't the NFL's finances be a little bit more fair to the players? Number one, it's incredibly nebulous, so none of the fans even understand. Think about it. We were talking about this last week. How many teams? I remember looking at the list, and I'm not talking about effective cap space, just sheer cap space. And the difference effective is obviously the guys you draft and all the other free agent moves. So effective is different. But I'm talking about just pure bottom line cap space. You see it in seasons over. Oh, this team's got $139 million in cap space. Okay. They can spend like drunken sailors. Or conversely, oh, man, this team, like the Browns or who else is in financial? The Cardinals, I think, right? A couple of teams are in the negative. Oh, my God, this team's minus $12 million in the salary cap. Are they going to be able to field the team next year? Yeah, it's called stupid NFL money. So all you do is restructure or cut and do all these other things. And voila, here's the magic wand. We go from minus $12 million to an abundance, a surplus of $37 million or $42 million. So the money stinks in the NFL. All right. It's confusing as hell. It's a real disservice to the fans. And it's a disservice to the players because when you sign contracts, right, they become antiquated very fast. Now, you're literally not wrong. You did sign the contract. Now, I'll give you an example, and it's totally different. But take a contract. I signed a few over the years with 13 years with CBS Sports Radio and WFAN. So when I signed those contracts, right, and they were always, depending on when I signed them, variance in length. All right, but when I signed them, it's not like I signed it and then all of a sudden the radio business, it exploded and, it went in this different direction where I'm like, wow, I'm woefully underpaid here. I signed at XYZ, and then 8 months later, the midday guy in Detroit signed for this much, 17% more. Well, I'm just throwing stuff out. It's not even really remotely comparable. But you get the point. I do understand the core pushback. You signed the contract. You should have negotiated a better one. But the contracts change so fast. Think about it. At one point, Eli Manning was the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Was he? No, I'm not going down the Eli rabbit hole of Hall of Fame. Now, I get into that now. We'll start trouble. But was Eli ever remotely the best quarterback in the NFL? The answer is, with all due respect, and I love him, a resounding not even close. We know that because we watch football, all right? It's timing, and the timing changes fast. And also the other thing, too, is as the salary caps escalate in the manner in which they are, like the percentage uptick is just through the roof here every year. You get an extra 30, 40, $50 million. So as that thing go boom, 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 spreads out more, well, now it reflects differently what you did sign, even though you willingly put your name on the contract. Nobody stuck a bat to your head and said, if you don't sign it, I'm going to take you outside the bada bing and take out your kneecaps. Like you don't have to sign it. You could have fought for more. You elected not to. But you've got to be fair to the NFL players, which I always am, because I think these contracts are ridiculous. So it's a lot of everything with Dexter Lawrence. I just don't think that the ability for this is really why, while I would entertain moving on from him, why I think he eventually does stay is that I think the window's shut, unless he's amazing this year, for the Giants to get back what the Jets got back and the Cowboys got back and what the Raiders were about to get back before that was obviously rescinded with the Raiders, with Max Crosby. So there's some stuff on that. All right, one other thing I saw about the draft here. How many days away are we from the draft? I think we're in the teens, 18? How many days? 17? Let me see. I think there was 20 days on Friday. How many days, Jay? Can you help me out with that? 17 days to the NFL draft?
We are 23rd. Yep. 16 days.
Oh, even better. Let's go.
16 days.
Yeah. And I think that they condensed the amount of time in between each pick. Before we hit that little jingle. That's the worst. Sitting there and just listen to guys babble. I know they're good at their job, but all the catchphrases. I've kind of had fun with this over the years. Oh, this guy's got quick hips, and look at how he swivels his hips, and look at how he goes up for the ball. Look at the catch radius. Oh, it's paralyzing mentally. So the quicker we get to the picks, the better. Anyway, there's 16 days to the draft. Now, Peter Schrager, who I think is great, he was on Good Day or Good Morning Football for a long time. New York guy. Don't know him. I think I met him once or twice. Good dude. Good at his job, right? I think he's very well connected. I think he's very good at his job. So he puts out 2 mocks. Like Kuiper's putting mocks out, I think he's got a mock out maybe for next year. Or like maybe a skeleton draft, maybe. He's already identified the best quarterbacks, that's for sure. So Kuiper's different than Schrager. Schrager's reporting on the day-to-day business of the NFL, doing what he does from a content point of view, but he also does do a mock now, and then I believe he does one either the day before or the week of the NFL draft. Only 2. And and I think it dropped yesterday. I'm pretty sure. I was traveling, so that's it. I can't stand travel. Although TSA was amazing over the weekend. Like we got to Newark on Saturday. Now we have the clear as well.
It was quick,
dude. It was amazing. Like we right through the clear. Look, we were the first people to clear. Like we walked right up to clear. Do you have that stuff? Do you have the TSA pre-check with the clear? It's life-changing.
I remember I got it last time I flew. It's been a while since I've actually flown or done any serious travel.
Gotcha. It's a massive difference. So we sped through the clear as you always do. And then, when you do the clear, they come and take you and you cut everybody. You're like, suckers, you cut a long line. And then you go through the security. Didn't have to take the shoes off. Boom, boom, boom. Very fast there. Maybe 10 minutes max. For all 4 of us with that whole process. And then even getting to the gate, we got on immediately. So it was awesome.
There we go.
Now coming back was a little different.
Really?
Daddy usually comes back solo because I got to get back to work, whatever. Kids have spring breaks, so they get a chance to spend some more time with your grandparents out in Texas, which is great. I originally had, I don't book the flights. I let my wife book them. She booked me and she didn't know. And this, you know what? I got to take the L on this a little bit. This is kind of my fault. This falls under the file of me really just not listening sometimes. Like I admit it. She's like, she comes to me and she says, hey, you know, what about flying out at this time? Because there's always got to work around a game before we go out there for Easter, as we do every year. And then coming back, she knows I'm going to come back early. Kids will come back early or later. And then obviously they've got to make sure that they're back for the games the next week. Either way. And she's great with that, right? So evidently she asked me, hey, you know, at this time, and I think it was like a couple of $100 cheaper. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So, but again, I wasn't really listening. I'll get to the Peter Schrager thing in a minute.
Yep.
And so I wake up on maybe even Sunday night. I'm like, hey, babe, what time's my flight tomorrow? She's like 5:13 p.m. I'm like, 5:13 p.m. I'm like, why so late?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and she said, well, you said that was fine. I'm like, 5:15. So now that means it's an hour difference. So 5:15 if you're on time. 6:15, 7:15, 8:15, 8:35 in terms of actual airtime. Tack on the hour when you get back to New York. 9:35 by the time I get my bag. By the time I get in the Uber or the car service, like it's 10:20. Hey, who won the national championship game? I don't know. There's probably going to be a good chance I don't get to watch any of it. Not to mention, I got to get ready for the show. So I'll take the L on that. I will take the L. But how about that? So she did call. I'm like, can you see if you could change anything?
Yeah.
So she called and she was able to change it. I had to pay a little bit of money, whatever. Dude, I got nestled in between. Let's just say, and she never gets me a middle seat because she knows I can't stand a middle seat. But to change the flight, you got to do what you got to do. Yep. Instead, I got on at 1:30 and I got home at like 6 and it was perfect.
Oh.
I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody. Just
man.
I was like this on both sides, bro. I was to the last row, right near the bathroom, right? And so, which meant my seat didn't go all the way back. And I was like this. I felt like I was setting a pick. Literally, I was trying to free somebody coming off a screen for a 3-point shot.
Oh, man.
Like this. Oh, I'm not going to leave it at that.
Stu was like Ernie Johnson. He was in between Chuck and Shaq.
Yeah, a little bit. I was pinched in there. At least those guys are having fun on the show. I mean, I definitely was not having fun with that nonsense. What do we got here? James, back to Jimmy here. BT, just want to say appreciate you. Your show's a great escape. Looks like some dark shit's about to pop off tonight. Just wanted to say thanks. Yeah, we are definitely keeping an eye on that, obviously. And James is talking about Iran, and we'll see what happens there. We'll see if if there's an extension of terms from President Trump. We'll see. But that's what this stuff is. It's an escape, you know. I try not to take myself very seriously. I try to take the show seriously. I do, because this is my livelihood. This is my business. This is my profession. This is my new platform. This is my outlet. But listen, I've talked many times about, you know, how I view this, and this is to let it rip and to be authentic and to be me and to have fun and to talk sports and to really be as much of a deviation from a lot of the real world issues that are much more important than, let's face it, whether or not Dexter Lawrence is traded from the Giants at the end of the day. I get it. And I'm not obtuse to this. I watch the news every night. Hopefully you guys watched the 2-hour conversation with Stephen A, which did fantastic. We had him last. I think we had him on Wednesday, right? Was that Wednesday, Thursday, Wednesday? It was awesome. We got into some of that stuff there. Not so much politics, but his political aspirations a little bit. But it was just a real wide-ranging conversation. And I really don't get into, not because I can't. I could. I just know that you guys don't want to. It's not why you listen to me, you know. And it's funny too. I've been on Fox a few times. I went on with Brian Kilmeade. I guess it was about a month and a half or so ago. He was doing this big piece on youth sports. All right. And I don't know Brian. I don't know. I've never met him. Maybe I met him. Maybe I did meet him once, but I don't have a relationship with him. They reached out and they were doing a thing on, you know, how economics and how the pressures and the shifting of youth sports is really ruining youth sports. And, you know, they know I do a lot of coaching. They know I played and they know I do this for a living. So anyway, they invited me on the show. Right. And I was on with a University of Florida professor who was talking about the shifting economics and some other stuff. And I brought a different perspective. And when I posted that on this YouTube channel, Don't you think I got a lot of, dude, you going on Fox? What are you doing? You know what?
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, you got a lot of that, sure. And then I've been on with my buddy Jimmy Fallon, who I have become friends with, who is funny. He uses comedy to take jabs at everybody in politics, right? And he's on Fox, so obviously there's a political leaning his way and a slant there, although I think he's fair. And when I posted that stuff, you get the same stuff. Oh, Jimmy Fallon's on Fox Radio, Fox News. What are you doing? Hey, listen, if I'm going to get a platform, and by the way, when I was on with Jimmy, it was for the Super Bowl, and I basically nailed the final score and won everybody money. I mean, I missed the final score by 2 points, and I nailed the spread, number one. Number two, the second time I went on was about St. John's in going into the Sweet 16 game. And, I do read a lot of comments here, and I do respond to a bunch because I want you guys to know I'm connected. I'm invested in this. It's personal. It's not just me from my little ivory tower making millions. That's sure shit's not happening. Not even close. Not even close. But it's my way of letting you know that I'm deeply invested and connected to you as a viewer. I can personalize this. Much like I did at The Fan. I responded to a lot of text and a lot of tweets and stuff. This is different, though. I respond to a lot more here. But one thing that I saw a lot when I would post those videos, oh, you're going to offend half your audience. Oh, you're going to go on that. Fox leans this way. Do you not think that I know which way Fox leans? Do you not think I know which way The View leans or which way CNN or Cuomo in his previous outlet or now? Like, do you think I don't know this? I mean, I am very much in tune with everything going on in the world. The difference is when somebody you might despise, you might abhor Fox, you might abhor CNN, depending upon which way you go. If I've got a platform to share something about youth sports that I think is going to make, even if it helps one kid or one family, do you think that I'm not going to take that opportunity, that platform to utilize that? Why would I not do that? So, I know when you talk about this stuff, it's polarizing, which is why I stay away from it for the most part on the air. But understand, if somebody asked me to come on to talk about something, I'm not talking about economic policy or ICE or any things that I'm probably not really, even though I know a little bit, not really truly qualified to speak on. If I have that window to do it, I'm going to do it. So if you guys have a problem with that, you need to get over yourself, because if you actually watch and listen to what I say and actually look at the content that's being talked about, then I would think that you would have a different opinion, number one. And number two, like I also said, hey, if CNN would have invited me to go on, I would absolutely would have accepted 100%. And if they invite me to come on to talk about youth sports or so, or the NCAA, how it's, I don't think, as I started the show after I talked about the championship game, how I don't think it's economically feasible to keep this sort of business model, then I'll go on CNN 100%. So people just need to understand that, Jay. But people don't. People, sadly, are so triggered, which I understand to an extent, but are so triggered by a logo for a network that, they almost can't grasp the content that's being talked about because they don't even care. Their mind is shut off to that point.
No, I mean, because that's the thing, is like they don't even I watch the conversations you had, like they're not even really political at all. Like really, they don't feel like that at all. They're so it's just like you said, like you see an image and you just immediately go for your quick assumption when like it's probably just not true in terms of like the actual content of the story.
100%. All right, let me pay off that Peter Schrager thing. I'm going to get to that in a minute there. Let me I'll read that in a moment. So anyway, Schrager put out his first draft here. And for the first time, I mean, all you see is Reese from Ohio State. I don't care what mock you look at. Reese 2. It's Mendoza 1, Reese 2. Mendoza 1. Oh, here's a mock draft. Oh, Mendoza 1, Reese 2. Oh, we got another mock draft. Mendoza 1, Reese 2. Reese 2, Reese 2, Reese 2. Now, I like Reese. I think he's an incredible athlete with incredible upside. I'm not married to the Jets taking him at number 2. Now, I also don't think that there's going to be a lot of movement or possible traction for a team to jump up and trade with the Jets, which is something that I espoused early last week that I would be open to, because while I like Reese and I'm intrigued by Reese, he's not enough of a sure thing for me. Watch, he'll wind up being like Lawrence Taylor or Micah Parsons. And of course, I'll be wrong with this. But right now, my opinion is I really do like him. And if the Jets take him at number 2, I'll be fine with it. But I'm just trying to incorporate another thought that I think is logical. And Schrager had Bailey going at number 2 to the Jets. Now, Bailey, you don't need Schrager to tell you this, because everybody knows this if you watch college football. Bailey is the more polished prospect right now. He's been an edge rusher for years. He had 14.5 sacks. He's been on the edge with his hand in the ground for years, facing double teams, getting his numbers. Now, people also think that there's some ridiculously alarming drop in athleticism, like Bailey ran a 4.86. Oh man, I ran a 4.5, dude. Bailey from Texas Tech ran a 4.5. So the different now, Reese was quicker, as were Styles and some others too. But it's not this massive drop in athleticism. It's slightly discernible. It is a real thing in terms of a slight drop off, but it's not enough for me not to take him. I don't love Bailey at 2 either. I when I saw Schrager, I'm like, would that excite me? I almost think I'd rather have Reese. I don't. My gut now is that Bailey is one-dimensional, and he'll be good at that one dimension, but I don't know that he'll be transcendent at that one dimension. And if you're a one-dimensional player and good at your job, is that enough to justify a second overall pick? Like if you're getting taken, 9th or 12th or 15th, that's fine. You're great at one thing. Like you're a corner and you're okay in coverage, but you're a lights out tackler. You can help out in the box a little bit. All right. I mean, not ideal if I'm taking a corner at number, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, something like that. Or, you're a linebacker, outside linebacker, and you're a sure-handed, sure tackler as we've ever seen. But, when you're dropping back in coverage, trying to hang with a tight end who's got a tenth of a second or two quicker than you because you didn't run a grade 40, either at the combine or at your pro day at your school. All right, not optimal. I like Bailey. I do. And I like Reese. I really believe I love the prospects of the Jets being open for business. So this is not really an in-depth commentary on Bailey, the player, or even Reese at this point. It's about this, to me, gives a little oxygen to the Jets possibly being open to trading number 2, because maybe another team loves Bailey or maybe another team loves Reese. I don't know. I know you need 2 to dance. That goes without saying. Jets could be Muji could be hell-bent on making a trade. If you don't have a willing trading partner, you're not making a trade. It sounds good. Trade up, trade back. You need somebody to satisfy your demands like you got with Sauce and like you got with Q. I don't know that that's going to happen here. I just hope, and I don't know, but I definitely hope that he is more than amenable to being open for business at number 2 as well, because to me, there's not much of a difference. Matter of fact, I would almost rather have, I know Caleb Downs has slipped a little bit in the boards for some reason, but now they don't need an offensive lineman, and there's 2 O-linemen. Actually, I think Schrager had the Giants taking an O-lineman. There's 2 who are going to go in the top 10. But you can't tell me now. You can tell me in 3 years when we've got some evidence, NFL tape to look at and say, yeah, we were right. We were wrong. Kind of right, kind of wrong, a little bit in between, kind of hit it, kind of didn't, whatever. Went to the wrong team, got hurt. Doesn't love football, sloppy, lazy, didn't get strong enough, didn't get a second move, pushed around, predictable. There's a lot of analysis coming once they play in the NFL. But like right now, to me, if it's Bailey, if it's Reese, all right. I mean, I'm not doing somersaults and flips with the pick, and I'm not going to pound the table and say they messed it up. But really, I am still married to the notion of the Jets trading out, or at least trying to. That's where I am with that. But I thought it was interesting. Schrager's real good with that stuff. Historically, does well with his mocks. And for him to have somebody other than Reese, and he doesn't do it just to differentiate himself. Like, he believes that because he's an information person. So we'll see. Super Game Chillin' Bros, 6643. What's happening? Thank you for that. Appreciate it, buddy. On a lighter note, the Jets draft party is being moved from Jersey to the Seaport in the city. I didn't even know that. Do you think you'll show up there and have some fun with us who are going to go? Let me know. The boys and I are going to be there. I do not think I'll be at the Jets draft party. Number one, there's a really good chance I'm doing stuff that night, either at a draft party, and again, not all the I's are not all the I's are dotted, not all the T's are crossed. It's business. This thing trickles in. There's a few opportunities to either do content here with a live watch or to be at a place that I can't divulge to do a live watch party myself. And at this point, I'm looking at all opportunities. Number one, it's obviously fun, but doing business here. So, I've been to a lot of drafts. I've been to a lot of draft parties, but I think there's a real opportunity where we'll be able to monetize that. So that would be a real good thing. J-Rod, have you ever been to a draft party?
Never. No. I mean, I listen to the NFL draft, to an NFL draft party.
I know you went to the NBA draft once, right?
Yeah. I mean, just watching it at home with the TV, really. I don't think I honestly don't even think I've ever gotten together with anybody to watch a draft.
Really?
Yeah, no.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny. Those things, I really don't now. I say that like really, like I do it all the time. I usually like to watch the draft in seclusion myself.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Just a lot going on, man. I remember, funny thing, you won't even remember this. This is when I was with ESPN. It was like the coolest thing at that point. ESPN, if you Google this at some point, you guys will see this. ESPN 2005, if I had to throw a year on it, came out with an ESPN phone. You don't even know about that, do you?
No, what?
Yeah. It was like a flip phone, right? But it was cool. I mean, the flip phones were, you could text on it, but it wasn't like an iPhone or Samsung, whatever.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you see it?
This is so cool.
Yes, there it is, man. What year was it? Was I right?
2006, yeah.
06, okay. And I'll never forget, I was playing golf, right? Up at New York Country Club with my buddy Dan and Rob and Maddie. I'm playing golf tomorrow, by the way.
Oh, let's go. It'll be a nice day.
Oh, now watch what I try to do today. Like this is how I try to squeeze it all in today. Now I'll be in the basement. I'll be hitting these little wiffle balls, ripping the club, getting in my own head, probably hit one 6 feet off the tee. It's going to be a disaster. But yeah, I'm playing my buddy Rob, who I have not seen in a while. So I can't wait to see him. My buddy Frank, who I play with quite a bit. I am getting out tomorrow. It's gonna be a little chilly, but it's gonna be sunny, so I'm playing the ball. So anyway, so ESPN, I'll never forget, we each got, like me, Kay, LaGreca, Stephen A. I'm sure Mike and Mike were up in Bristol. They probably got 10 each, based on how much they got back then. And rightfully so. It was a really good show. We each got the phone. I remember it came in the package, had my name on it. I'm like, oh, all right, here we go. Starting to get some free shit now. Yeah. It was big boys swimming.
Oh, so you got an ESPN phone.
Yeah, they gave us one. They gave each of us one.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And it was like free service for a year. And I had my own phone, and I used it a little bit. I'd like to say it was like a burner phone, but no, I didn't really need one. But I do remember playing golf at New York Country, and the coolest feature on the phone, this was during the NFL draft, to my point. This is like the only time I didn't watch the draft by myself. I was playing golf. And every time a pick was made, it would be on the green. You'd hear from the cart, dan-dan-dan, dan-dan-dan.
No way.
And it would alert you. All right, the pick is in. And then you'd open up the phone. And it was actually really fun.
That's awesome.
Because, I obviously knew every player. My boys were even then a little bit more into it than they are now. That did not last well, or that did not last long. It was cool. It was a good idea.
They should do like a little they should do a little like ode to it, like a little ad spot where they, I don't know, poke fun at it. That is so funny, man.
Listen, you got to understand when you see stuff with when you see stuff 15, 20 years later, and it's I mean, I get it. I do it too. Like, it's hard to do. It's hard to look at stuff and say, wow, this thing is sick, right? Yeah. I'll give you a good example. So my buddy Tommy, who got married and had a child when he was young, like 20s, early 20s. Kids are grown, awesome guy, really my first best friend. Couple of homes down the street. Great dude. Played in the street every day. Great family. His dad played golf with my dad. I don't know how many times, but his dad passed away. Love his mom. Love his brother, K-Rat. Just a great family. And, like I remember, hold on one sec. I remember, hang on. No, that's not true.
What?
No. Okay, no, my buddy just texted me something about the ESPN phone. There's no way.
Oh, okay.
There's no way. All right. So anyway, since he had, children early and his first son was a boy, when I had a son, he sent me all of these bats that his son used along the way. And he played JUCO baseball, was a very good player in New Jersey, his son, Timmy. And one of the bats he sent me was a bat that we used. And if you're old enough, the Black Magic, Easton.
Yeah.
The Easton Black Magic, too. You're way too young. That was like, whatever 500 bat. I'm not just going to give free plugs everywhere here. But there's a couple of really good ones out there now that every player has that plays club ball, whatever. And they're ridiculously overpriced, but they got a lot of juice. I'm talking about the U-Trip bats, USSSA, not the USA bats that you have to use in travel and rec. Yeah. So anyway, he sent me a fungo bat that he used to coat that I used for my teams early, then it broke, and a bunch of bats for my son to train with. And, but they were so out of, you couldn't use them. They didn't conform to the regulations is my point. And the other day I was working out. My son, I hear him hitting off the tee or something. Yeah. No, he was hitting off, doing something in the basement. And he went and he found the black magic that was kind of tucked away because there's no need to use it. And he's like, Dad, he's like, was this yours? I'm like, no, it was my buddy Tommy, who I grew up with, who sent to me a bunch of bats when you were born. And he's like, look at this thing. I'm like, dude, you have no idea. That was like the Air Jordans when we were playing, when we were young. So it's so like when that ESPN phone dropped, it was like sick, man. Even think about, no, seriously, think about some of the video games that you loved playing back in the day. Like even Mike Tyson's Punch Out, like it seemed so awesome. All the different characters, all the different styles, like the guy with the shorts falling down, the Swami, whatever he was, the Don Flamenco with the rose, like they were all different characteristics. Now you see that game, even though it's great, it's got a great place in American lore, in American gaming lore, and it's renowned. I mean, it's like an icon. But look at the graphics now. You're like, man, you guys love playing that? Yeah, we did, because we didn't know anything else. So before iPhones, the ESPN phone wasn't that bad of a deal.
So my question is, was this the only phone that offered like this kind of ability to watch these video highlights and stuff like that?
I don't remember the answer to. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. The truth of the matter is, I don't even really remember them having video capability. But it says it did, right?
Yeah, like I believe it said it could play videos. I don't know if it had like the camera, like the old, like the Blackberries kind of started doing down the line.
True, it did have a camera. No,
okay,
it had a camera.
Okay,
I remember taking pictures on the golf course. Yeah, I do. We got here.
Find any of? I mean, I'm sure you don't have the phone anymore. But man, I'm sure those pics would be awesome.
Yeah, or incriminating. But let's get a picture on the golf course, boys. Yeah. Hey, I'd be happy with either Downs or Styles for the Giants. Leaning towards Styles. Listen, I've talked about this a lot. We'll do more and more and more draft stuff as we get closer. 16 days away. I always was open to the idea of Giants going O-line at 5. Now, I know Harbaugh loves the safeties, so Caleb Downs, certainly something I've been saying for a couple of months now, really since he was hired. And Harbaugh said it with Mike Francesa. He was on Mike's podcast, and he was talking about Caleb Downs. So that's not exactly breaking news. Schrager had O-line. I think it makes sense. There's certain ways you have to build. If your future is your quarterback, and we all think, most of us think that it is Jackson Dart, you better make sure you've got a kick-ass O-line around him. It's better. It's becoming a little serviceable, but it's still not an ultimate strength. Like Jackson Dart with the Jets O-line will be a lot better than the Jackson Dart with the Giants O-line. Now, the Jets, obviously there's other things that can go wrong, like coaching, but you guys know what I mean. So I think the Giants can go one of three directions there, and I think it's going to be a blast. I think that outside of Mendoza, I don't know what the hell's going to happen, but the Ohio State's going to be well represented. I think the wide receiver market is a little bit overstated. Everyone's like, oh, it's an amazing wide receiver crop. Just because there's 4 or 5 guys that that played at big schools and that probably will go in the first round-ish doesn't mean that they're absolute no-doubters. Like, one guy's a little small, one guy's had a hamstring issue. Like, there's a little bit of baggage. Almost baggage is the wrong word, but there's a little bit of an impediment in the evaluation, I think, of each player to an extent where you're like, is he really worthy of being number 9 or whatever it might be? So these are all things we'll flush through. We're getting there. The Soto hamstring, we did that in 3 burning questions. The calf, we did that in 3 burning questions. To me, really opens up a window for Jazz. I'm jumping all over the place next. I want to get to Jazz before I get out of here real quick. For Francisco Alvarez to assert himself, he's looked very good this year. The Mets are going to need him. Lindor's been hurt. Lindor's been quiet. Bichette's been quiet. You have to think that's going to change. It should. And then, those guys are going to have to hit for the Mets to maximize their offense and become whatever version of their best version they're going to become when Soto eventually returns. But that bottom third, talk about the Yankees' bottom third, which I don't like at all. The Mets' bottom third is better than the Yankees, but a return to form based on what we thought Alvarez could be and the early signs are there, be a great thing for Alvarez. So I want to see how he keeps going. And then, listen, just the final thing on Jazz. I know Boone doesn't operate this way, I would have benched him. I would have benched him over the weekend. That nonsense he pulled at second base, not knowing how many outs there were, just not knowing the speed or of the runner or showing any urgency. How the hell do you let that happen? You're going to see on one hand. I think on one hand. And by the way, Jazz might be on one of the fingers again. How many times this year do you think we'll see a major league second baseman loaf after a ball, right? have plenty of time to, I don't mean where he dives and has to get up, and because that's not loafing. A fairly routine, a little bit to your right, a little bit up the middle, but he was already pinched up the middle. So it's not like he had to move that much. Where you make the play and he just lackadaisically take your time, and the guy's busted ass down the line. And by the time you understand it's a close play and there's a speck of urgency, he beats it out. I would have benched him for that. I would have benched him. And I think that's one of the real issues with Jazz Chisholm. I mean, last week he gets picked off first base because he's in space with his oven mitt. And this is the reason. And now he's not even hitting. Now he's going to hit. But that's why I didn't like him talking about 50-50, because what are you doing trying to hit 50 home runs? What are you selling out from a mechanical point of view that's going to lead to additional breakdowns, that's going to lead to more strikeouts and fewer quality at bats? He looks awful this year. Now, a lot of great play, and he's not great, but a lot of really good. He is really good. A lot of really good players look awful because pitchers still have the advantage at this point of the year. And it's April, and it's a sport rooted in failure, and it's an incredibly small sample, but he's striking out a ton. And once again, there's been multiple times where his head is in space. And this is the Jazz experience that I want no part of long-term. That's why I'm not giving him an extension. That's why I've told you that at some point the Yankees will move on from him. They're not going to give him that big deal. I still think, depending upon what happens with some other player movement, they could trade him, although now you're probably more inclined to, go through the process, maybe a QO. I don't know if he matches or if he doesn't, you get some draft comp. I don't know what they're going to do here, but it just comes down to not trusting somebody to be locked in when you have to be locked in. I mean, that's job number one. I mean, because if you're on a major league diamond, everybody's got the requisite amount of speed and arm strength and hands and the ability to hit, higher level pitching, because that you wouldn't be in the major leagues if you couldn't. All right. Understood. Imagine if Jazz Chisholm had the approach of, I'm not even saying like a great player, but just like the mindset, just the data of like a Caballero right now. Caballero's not nearly as good, but at least he's a grinder, like Jazz, he just floats mentally. It's just not always a given that he's going to be ready to play baseball. I'm sorry. And, that is just unacceptable. I know what happened to Lindor as well when he got picked off with his oven mitt. These damn oven mitts, they're the size of a catcher's mitt at this point. My God. Ricky Henderson didn't bust up fingers, but everybody else needs an oven mitt. And now all the kids have them too, so I get it. So another racket. Baseball bats are $500. Everybody needs an oven mitt. Oh, my God. But that is another example why I'm just never going to be ever all in on Jazz Chisholm, because that could very easily happen in September against Toronto in a higher leverage moment. Because and if you say to me, well, no, it's early in the year, he's going to be more locked in. Well, yeah. Why wasn't he locked in against the Dodgers in the World Series when he's looking around, staring in space when the ball's trickling past him and runners are running around like a merry-go-round? That was the World Series. So that's an invalid. That is not a good take on Jazz Chisholm. And I want to be clear about this as well. I love his style and I love his energy. I don't want this to ever get twisted. My only knock about Jazz is that he's just simply not emotionally reliable. That's it. The way he wears his hat. All right, that's not the way that I would wear my hat, but I actually like the fact that he's got that swag, because for too many years the Yankees had no swag. It was incredibly corporate. It was incredibly mundane. It was incredibly predictable. I like individuality, who knows what the hell I would look like if I was coming up and I was 22 years old and I'm in the majors right now. I know I'd have the armbands and the eye black and, the chains and, all the other stuff. I don't know if I'd be rocking an earring at this point, but a lot of players do. Cool. Looks good, man. You're a stylish cat. You've got a world of talent. Like, if you weren't so talented, I don't think I'd hold him to any other level of, responsibility except just be reliable. If you hit 240 with 20 home runs and 20-something steals or 30 steals, I'd say, all right, that's your ceiling. That's the kind of player you are. I believe there's more, or I think I used to believe there's more, because you do get to a point in your career where, you got to probably stop saying that, and he just demonstrates. I don't need to just say this over and over. He demonstrates too often when the guys around him, now they might be a little deficient in terms of foot speed or whatever else. He's got a good arm as well. He could play third, play the outfield with the Marlins. Like, he's versatile, runs like the wind. I mean, the guy's got easy for a skinny, wiry, strong dude. He's got ridiculous easy power when he connects from the left side. But that doesn't justify not being ready to do your job. So every Yankee fan that's tripping over themselves, defending Jazz, always so talented, always so electric, always going to hit 30 home runs, always the second best second baseman in baseball. All those things are true, but it still makes him an unreliable player. That's it. It really does. All right, Jay. Anything else that I missed here? I believe that we're good. Almost 2 hours.
Yeah,
go a little longer today.
I think we hit it all. I mean, certainly hit everything you want to see. I mean, got some comments if you want to see them.
Yeah, let's get a couple of comments. I think this is a new follower of the show. By the way, of course, like, subscribe. What happened to that like, subscribe button that you were popping in there once in a while, Jay? Right?
Well, here's the thing. Did it keep making your screen turn black?
It did. Now it's actually okay, though. Maybe when we get rid, you know what it did. But when there's a comment up there, so watch. Keep it now. Oh, here we go. Ba-da-da-ba-da.
There we go.
We run from no expense on this show. All right. We've got an unlimited budget on BT Unleashed as we grow it out. I like that thing. I do. I like that thing. Can you give me that comment up there again? I do want to read something about Jazz. Let's get a couple of comments and I'm going to bounce here. All right. We had it on Jazz. The virtual discourse, I believe a new follower of the show. So if you're following and you haven't subbed and you haven't liked and you haven't hit the comments, by all means do that. Welcome to the show if you're new, Mr. Virtual or Mrs. or Miss. If Jazz was more mentally locked in, he could be one of the best players in the game. It's a shame. Very athletic. I agree. I mean, so we're on the same page. He was on the cover of the show for a reason. A couple of years back. He's got out of this world electric talent. Like there's nothing he can't do. He does things where you're like, man, that's just not natural. That's not normal. That is next level quick twitch. But again, at what point, whether it's even the play, and people got mad at me for this. They're like, oh, you're nitpicking on Jazz. Even the play last year when he scored from first in the playoffs, right? There was actually a little bit of a hesitation. And, I'm not going to, profess to be some next level baseball guy, but I do consume the game a little bit differently than some. And I'm like, it's not a good jump. He didn't actually get top speed until he was halfway or approaching second base. Now he beat the throw. I believe he slid head first and he beat it, but that's not the point. It should not have been that close. And when you rely on top level speed to make up for a lethargic, lackadaisical start, eventually that's going to catch up to you. And I'm not saying that I think that Ben Rice is somebody who does maximize his talent because he's not that fast and he's learning to play first base, but he's a great young hitter. Even I was critical, this would have been on Thursday or Friday, whatever day it was. There was a play, a little tapper. I think Will Warren was pitching this game, a little tapper up the third base side that Warren got. And there was a play at first base and Rice didn't stretch. Now, if you're a first baseman, I also understand ball up the line, third base. You want to keep your left foot. You want to give it inside, and you generally yell inside. Catchers yell that. First baseman yell that inside or outside if it's in foul territory with the catcher coming with that throw. So I get it. Your left foot is anchored on the bag, but he did not receive the ball properly. Now, he was still out. If you look at that, he was out by this much. But if he would have very quickly, and this is all process of learning. It's not me getting on the young man figuring out first base. It's not as easy as some people think. But if he would have quickly shifted from his left foot to his right foot and went out and received the ball and go and get the ball with a real stretch, and it's on my Twitter account if you guys want to check it out, if you want to actually see what I'm talking about. And if you saw the play, you should remember that. Just a little finer point that I like to bring to the table that I don't think everybody agrees with, because I saw some of the comments and some of the comments are like, dude, he hit a home run and he's hitting 400. This is what you nitpick on. And where the Yankees they've lost one game so far. This is what you're pointing out. Yes, I'm thrilled with the start, although Sunday bothered me. I'm thrilled with the start. I love the way Rice looks. I think he's going to be an all-star. I think he's going to be top 10 in the American League MVP voting, which I've already said. I said before the season started. But it doesn't mean that I can't point out something that could hurt you in October. I don't understand how people the small-minded people who can't compute both, those people frustrate me because they're so black and white. No, this is a little bit of a next level take, a little bit of a next level pointing something out, something small, because I love the game. And oh yeah, by the way, it's 100% right. If you ever played first base or you coached, you gotta maximize that strike. Go and get the ball. How do you, if you're safe by this much, and he was out by this much, but if you're safe by this much and your stretch is here, but you can really stretch to here, you tell me, how many inches are you leaving on the table? Half a foot? Maybe more? Maybe 10 inches? 6, 7, maybe 10 inches, right? That thing is ridiculous at this point. Maybe 10 inches. And then you know what? It's not as bang as it was. Anyway, it's more about Jazz, but I wanted to point that out about Ben Rice. And there's just something in his game that I will never, ever trust. And deep down, I know the Yankees feel the same way. We'll see how it plays out. I promise you, this one you could take to the bank, and it's probably going to be within the next month. There is something, aside from the home runs that will come and the great plays that will come and probably 40 to 50 steals that will come. He will do something over the next however many weeks where we'll be like, what are you doing? Confounding, head scratcher. So that's the Jazz experience. Wildly talented, also equally confounding. All right, J-Rod, good job with the concert, with the set on over the weekend. I'm happy you had fun.
Yes,
Again, thank you to the Texas Rangers for throwing out the first pitch. I threw it with some zip, man. I went out there, but the ball was slick, but I got to own it. You know what? Oh, I didn't tell you this either. I was so in my head as I was documenting the first pitch because I was waiting for 20 minutes basically in the dugout before I went out there. When they gave me the ball, I told you that it was very slippery. That I told you. Yeah. What I didn't tell you is that I spent all the 20 minutes spitting on the ball, which I know sounds gross, and even trying to pick up some of the remnants of the on-deck circle to kind of, swear to God,
to try to dry it off a little.
Yeah. But then I was like, well, you don't want to get too much dirt on it because you want to, they wrote something nice and I want to put it in my, in my office, and I want to, like some of the other things that I have on display. So, but I was so in my head because it was so slick, but I did not throw a strike. The windup was good, had some good velo, but man, if Travis Janikowski doesn't save me, that thing's dead. I'll tell you. That thing is hitting the screen on a fly. All right, man, let's bounce. I'm back tomorrow with 10. J-Rod, have a great Tuesday. We'll get all the shorts up. Have an awesome time today. Masters week. Congrats to Michigan. More and more and more and more on the NFL draft as we get closer. Now 16 days away from the aforementioned draft. We'll get a guest in. I would say we'll get in a guest this week. I'm working on a few things, so I don't want to say who yet in case it doesn't come to fruition, but it will be a big one. If you missed the Stephen A. chat or the Michael K. chat or the LaGreca chat or the Patino chat, go and check out the channel. Jump into some other content. Like it, subscribe it. Appreciate the BT Unleashed fam. You guys know that. See you tomorrow at 10. Peace.
This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me?
With your host,